M9 pistol, which and the law banned magazines, spanning and altogether 45 weapons, including a measure that limits magazine capacity. The Firearms Safety Act, as it's euphemistically dubbed, makes the M9 illegal because it holds 15 rounds. So Tennessee, this state, and of course its government, which sort of claims an interest in business through taxation and through kind of sovereign, you might say sovereignty. It is glad to have that company come to Gallatin, and we can simply applaud and restrictions. Well, we foster and create a refugee stream of businesses and profit generating, capital generating interests, which move to areas more friendly, or should I say friendlier, to the marketplace and to profit. Because remember, profit is what makes the future come. If you don't have profit, you cannot have a tomorrow. If Chattanooga had to change the theme slightly, if Chattanooga had all of its businesses from out of town exporting the profit, with except perhaps from some residual expenses here and maybe some franchises. If it exported all the profit, you couldn't have Chattanooga. Chattanooga as a town, in fact, your town where you're from, my listener, would not exist if it were not for the profit that stays there. A city doesn't need more employment. No, a city always needs more owners. Owners are what matter because they receive the profit. And a city such as Chattanooga, Hamilton County, needs to have more owners, not more employees. So that means, for example, just think of the numbers for a second. It would be better, assuming what I'm saying is correct, it would be better to have 1,000 men like you, my listener, starting your own businesses in your basements or the spare bedroom or in the garage than to we're coming to Chattanooga. We're going to build a factory and employ 1,000 people. And the reason that would be better is because the profit resides here, and there's more health, according to studies. There's more physical health. There's more mental health, even. And there's more economic health in any town or city or area that has one that has maybe just 2 or 3 large employers who kind of call the shots and create a more monocultural situation than if you have a diverse economic culture with many, many, many small businesses. Now, I say that, and I want, as I say that, I'm thinking about Bruce Krebs. Bruce Krebs helps people like me, people like you, get into businesses. Now, I own a 40 Hot News Talk Radio. We're the show where Colin Cowherd is heard every day. Colin Cowherd, the Rush Limbaugh of sports, and also on the side of national politics and so on, we've got the great Sean Hannity, the number 2 national host after Rush Limbaugh. Sean has many followers, many fans, and we have him here at AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio, and also CBS News and Fox News, and we have NFL and NASCAR. We're the station that has all these benefits, all these blessings. And we want you to have your own business too. But if you don't have a business that looks like you and sounds like you and reflects your view of the world and kind of what you know, well, then buy into somebody else's business. And that's where Bruce Krebs comes into play. Bruce Krebs runs Entrepreneur Source, and he will get you into a franchise that fits what you know, what you do, your interest. He will, as your consultant, who doesn't charge, right? He doesn't charge you any, but he is your consultant, and he will make sure that you find a franchise that fits your interest and maybe a change of direction. Maybe you want something that's outside of your field, and that might be the best thing after all. Entrepreneur Source, call now. Call now. Bruce Krebs, Entrepreneur Source, 875-5621. Get an appointment and say, hey, heard about you from David. And he'll be glad to know that his connection with our station is profitable to him. as he looks for people to serve. His number is 875-5621. That's 875. Write it down. Go ahead, write it down. 875-5621. We're also members of Trade Bank of Chattanooga. There is no better way to barter using often wholesale prices and also the Trade Bank dollar debit card. Trade Bank dollars on debit card as well. The number is 877-2202. Call to find out how Trade Bank can benefit you. Jürgen Mutz is the man who may answer the phone, and he is the German with a Southern twang. You'll enjoy talking with Jürgen. 20 years here in the marketplace, knows everybody, and has a distinct and we have the whimsical idea that small is better than big, that near is better than far, and that simple is better than complex. And down in the footnotes where the fleas fight, right, in the small 6-point type with javelin and scimitar, you've got personal is better than corporate, and physical is better than abstract. And these are not always true universally in every time, but together, I think if you take them together, you end up with nougacentrism. Nougacentrism is our operating theory. It is our form of capital. It is ideational capital, if you will. And by it, we think about how we're to prosper ourselves in our city and to be more useful to more people, because that is the goal of the marketplace, to find it's not about getting money. Some people, of course, interpret it that way, and that's the statist sort of socialist analysis of the marketplace. Well, everybody's in it for their own getting, and you got to get yours too, and get to it first before somebody else gets your share. That's the marketplace mentality of the man who doesn't understand and doesn't care about the marketplace, doesn't care about freedom, doesn't care about liberty, and instinctively rejects with a twinge of terror in his breast the idea of constitutional government, which is established by our founders here in Tennessee, and maybe even the founders in your state, established to protect property, to protect the innocent, and to allow for and I urge you to read his piece, The Second Surrender of Dixie. And he's waxing very eloquently. I want to concede about the South getting past its past, getting past the dreadful days of slavery, the dreadful days of states' rights, and the things of the South for which the South and its common Scots-Irish people, its fierce Anglo-Saxons, its jealous people fought for. We have to get past these things, he says. Dixie was on the wrong side of Jim Crow, he says, was on the wrong side of the civil rights movement, wrong about gay rights and gay marriage, and wrong to have allowed the Confederate flag to fly so long over state, county, and city governments. And his piece, prompted by discussion over New Orleans flags flying and the need for it to come down, is the focus of his work. Ever since Reconstruction, we in Dixie have confused a respect for tradition and the past, he says, with a begrudging slowness to evolve morally into our best, most ethical selves. So somehow, if you care for the South, care for agrarian economy, care for the Christian perspective of the market, of the family, and of labor, that we had, then you somehow are a retrograde. You are a retromagant. Now, a retromagant is a backwards pissing animal. I don't think there are many of those, but you are one. If you are a friend of Dylan Roof, the man who in a hate crime killed 9 Christians, black Christians, at a prayer meeting in Charleston, South Carolina. You are connected with those people. You are connected with, as he describes it, the swampy secessionary part that produced segregation, the swampy secessionary part of the South, of Dixie. You are a part of these things, and you need to repent. You need to be sorry that what you want is not possible anymore, that what you lost cannot be retrieved. It cannot be retrieved. And he says, even if we see the Confederate flag as an innocent symbol of Southern heritage, we have enough empathy imagination and compassion to understand how it far greater represents a painful history of night riding violence and slave owning oppression. Therefore, out of love for our black neighbors, we would gladly, humbly fold up the flag. Now, the flag is, in fact, a representation of the salvation of the South. It is a representation of the freedom of the black man. The war was fought not to free the slaves. The war was fought over the tax on imports. It was fought over the authority of states to determine their own future. And it was fought on the basis on Lincoln's side of the Union as they theorized, including Daniel Webster, who theorized that the religious corporation, if you will, of the United States preceded any and all of the colonies, and that the colonies and the states get their existence from their agent. It's not that the states are the principals and the federal government is the agent. No, it's backwards. We have it wrong. That the central power, the national government, is the source of life of these bodies, these states, these colonies that became states. And so now we have to repent. We have to see that the flag is evil. But the flag, in fact, as I did see a copy of such a flag in a recent criminal defendant's lodgings. The flag is a picture of the free man, because in the South, in slavery, people bought their own freedom. And because the black man found Christianity in the South, he learned the work ethic. He learned the Calvinist theory of providing value for other people. And that's what he heard in church and what he heard in the black church, in Sunday school. The self-set bought their own freedom. They were called freedmen, and there were as many as 24%. I think, if I'm remembering correctly, the book called Slaves Without Masters, the history that explores this very important topic. And these people had bought their own freedom. In fact, some were so wealthy as black tradesmen and black planters that they lent money to their former masters. It often happened. And some white masters who lost everything in the war were unable to pay back the debts they had to their black former slaves. A very interesting story indeed. But the war was fought for local theory, local economy, and local control. And now I would admit the fault of the war was that these were states, and these states centralized into a nation, and we're fighting another entity, also of states centralized into a nation. And so the Southern theory kind of had it wrong from the beginning, that it was going to fight centralization with centralization. And it had, of course, destructive consequences for us here. Even today, we here in Hamilton County and Chattanooga are suffering the results of that war. One effect is one that you, my listener, probably don't think much of. You, I know, don't attend church much, don't care much for Christianity, don't have an affinity for it directly as a worshiper of God. But still, the fact that the Southern church has been feminized by the loss of many, many deacons and elders and preachers in that war. There was, in the progressive era, a great feminization of the church, a great softening of its creeds, of its harsh and vigorous creeds about God, about the sovereignty of God, about the law of God. These were diminished. And so because they were diminished, we had Reconstruction, of course, imposed from without, and we had the rise of the dependent black man. And that's what the black man works under today, dependence on the state. The plantation house has shifted from that place down by the river among the trees where the wharf can be seen jutting out into the river. The plantation has shifted from there with that little road going over to it. And it has shifted to the state capital, and to a better capital than that of Washington. So David Cook, somehow in an appeal to my emotions, and an appeal to yours, wants you to think that somehow we need to be embarrassed about the South and we need to be embarrassed about the flag. No, the Southern flag is a symbol of defiance. It is a symbol of rebel movements everywhere, whether in Yugoslavia, whether in Africa, whether among protests among Russians against the administrations of Vladimir Putin. The flag shows itself among people who know that it stands for defiance against central authority. And if you have central authority, you have servitude. And so the black man, I would suggest, should look at that flag and think that those people were fighting for their places in which my ancestors worked as slaves. And those slaves were going to be freed eventually. Emancipation was in the air in the South. It was in the air. It was not an efficient system. Many people were for it. Many people wanted it to happen gradually so that and make sure that the buyers of these people, the buyers of these slaves, could get their investment back, right? To be able to be paid off of their investment, because a human being is worth capital, and $500 to buy somebody, you got to get your money back out. So that's what they were wanting. They wanted to have a way of settling so that the owners could be compensated for their losses by the market, but that never happened. The blacks were freed by war, and then afterwards enslaved by the progressive state, as were the Southerners, and in fact, as were the Northerners. The Northerners equally enslaved to the national power. The story also here on the wires about looking at Brianna Arredondo, WSMV TV, a story out of Clarksville. Google is opening a data center at Hemlock site across the state, and it's in Montgomery County. The site will bring 70 jobs, according to this television report, and bring more, as the story says, more than $600 into the area. I'm not sure what that means exactly. Bill Haslam says, "We are grateful for Google's significant investment in Tennessee and the new jobs that will be created in Montgomery County. This is one of the world's most well-known brands. So it says a lot for our state that it will soon be home to Google's 8th U.S. data center." Of course, Google is a gigantic company cooperating with the good people in every way. There's a shooter drill that occurred yesterday, Tuesday. David Carroll is telling us about it on TV3. There's a story there. And his lead is now more than ever, there's a heightened sense of awareness involving active shooters on school campuses. And he points out that there have been 2 incidents that affected Chat State. One was the July 16 faithful Muslim shooting of 5 military men, whose encounter with which is on the front page of yesterday's newspaper. I hope you take a read that story. Very interesting story about the 5 officers in the Chattanooga Police Department who exchanged fire with Muhammad Abdulaziz. Then the other incident is the shots fired by a duck hunter nearby that caused a shutdown. A shutdown of the campus. There's even campuses now have police departments. Okay, we've got Curtis Green, police chief of Chat State. He says, due to the recent threats, we need to be ready in case it happens here on campus. So we have a centralized system, a highly grand investment in capital, in plant, that is to say, in buildings, and the attendance schedules to get people to that plant, to get people to that physical location, that invites, as they fear, the massacre. So Chat State, as recently a school in Bradley County, practicing active shooter, of course, is a massacre party. Helps everyone involved develop the muscle memory needed in case a rapid response is needed on campus and off. Let me day spa, and it's at chattanooga.woodhousespas.com. That's chattanooga.woodhousespas.com. And if you get a $100 gift card, there's a free $15 bonus card. A $200 card brings a $25er, and a $300 gift card or higher gives you a free luxurious throw. It's a virgin white, beautiful little blanket. It's just beautiful. Get a special treat for your wife at Woodhouse Day Spa. Woodhouse Day Spa.
Expect a cloudy, foggy, and wet start to your Wednesday with morning showers, getting warmer highs of around 70 by this evening and tonight. More scattered storms will roll in. Some of these could be strong, possibly severe lows, lower 60s. More scattered showers and storms Thursday, gradually tapering off later Christmas Day, highs back into the 70s. Everyone deserves the gift of more data, so visit Verizon online or in store to get great deals on the XL or larger sizes. Then stream more and surf longer, all on the better network. And I'm 1412 Chief Meteorologist Patrick Orr on AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
A view like no other awaits you for lunch or dinner at Ari's in Sunny Daisy. Ari's Harbor Light is the restaurant over the glittering waters of Lake Chickamauga, there at the marina. It serves you a quiet dinner for two, a solitary glass after a day of toil, a delicious family feast, pleasing even the pickiest 8-year-old niece here for the holidays. Come today. Ari's Harbor Lights restaurant lays a generous smorgasbord of seafood, Greek specialties, Italian pasta. Try Ari's at 11 for lunch. Ari's, 9700 Hickson Pike, Sunny Daisy, 843-2800. Open Tuesday through Sunday. A great place for a holiday party. Happy hour, 3 to 7. Ari's.
Are you tired of working in corporate America, or have you recently